Miss Story again. Today I'm going to read chapters 12 through 15 in our book, Fish in a Tree. Chapter 12. What's your problem, Albert? Light from the hallway pours into my room as my mom opens the door. Hey, honey. Hey. I came in to check on you. You seem very quiet at dinner tonight. Something going on? Mean kids at school. Oh, Allie Bug, I'm sorry you have to put up with that. What happened? Well, the kids who were mean? Yeah. Well, I was kind of one of them. Oh, she says with a sigh. I'm surprised by that, Allie. Tell me what happened. Those girls that came into Peterson's that time, well, they asked me to have lunch with them, and I sat at their table, but then they started being mean to a kid named Albert about his clothes. I look up into her eyes. And I went along with it, and I feel really bad about it. My mom brushes my forehead with her fingertips. You're not a little girl anymore, Allie, so it's not too soon to decide what kind of person you want to be. Of course, I know what kind of person you are, and I love you for it. She kisses my forehead. You made a mistake. Everybody does. Just do your best to make it right. That's all. The words I'm sorry are powerful ones. Yeah, okay, I'll make it right with him. That's my girl, she says, kissing my forehead one more time before leaving. The next morning at school, I'm wondering how I can make things right with Albert. I'm drawing a pigeon wedding in my sketchbook, and I don't know that Keisha is standing behind me. You drew that? I move my arm to cover it. Why would you cover it? If I could draw like that, I'd put commercials on TV about it. Thanks, I mumble. I don't know why I'm embarrassed about it, but I am. Keisha sits in the chair as I stare at her head full of thick braids, thinking it must take 3 days for her to do all that. So beautiful. I just love it. Not like my boring hair that just hangs there. I reach out to touch her hair, and she turns toward me all of a sudden. What are you doing? Oh, sorry, there was a mosquito. Sometimes I can't believe the things I do. It's like my arm has a brain of its own. Uh-huh, Keisha says. Just then, Albert walks in and he looks upset. I want to tell my mother that I made things right with him, so I go over to him. Albert, are you okay? I ask, wondering if he'll tell me to strap myself to a rocket and light the fuse. I have a problem. I'm sorry about the cafeteria thing, I blurt out. His eyes rise. That didn't bother me. No need to apologize. It didn't bother you at all to have a table full of people making fun of you? Are you kidding? Why would I be kidding? Can it be that he really doesn't care what people think of him? We just stare at each other, and if it didn't bother him at all, and this new problem really does, then it must be something really bad. Maybe it has to do with the bruises he has all the time. Can I help, I ask? No offense, but I don't really think so. Okay, I mumble. It's just a problem that I can't get out of my head, and I feel like I won't be able to relax until I find the answer. Do you want to talk about it? I know sometimes when I have a problem, I talk it out with my brother or mom, and even if I don't find the answer, I still feel better anyways. Well, he said. I wait. I've been wondering if an insect is flying inside a moving train car, is it traveling faster than the train itself? And if the insect flies in the opposite direction that the train is moving, is it traveling more slowly than the train? Obviously, if the fly is on the wall, it's moving at the same speed, as long as it isn't walking, but the movement within movement is what's puzzling me. Oh, that kind of problem. He turns to me, a little intense. You can see my problem here. He doesn't ask, he tells me. I know he doesn't really think I can help, and who knows if I could possibly figure out the science part of what he's talking about, but my mind shows me that the insect in the train car. It's a dragonfly with brilliant greenish-blue wings and tiny goggles over its eyes. The car is old, with dark wooden walls and dark green curtains, like from Grandpa's westerns. And the people have old-fashioned clothes. I see them. They're with me now. Some of the men are sleeping. One is waving the dragonfly off with a newspaper, not even noticing its tiny little goggles. Ladies with the most beautiful dresses sit there too. And I see a girl who is with her mother, and her mother keeps asking the girl if she's enjoying the ride, and the girl keeps saying yes, being sure to have a happy sounding voice. I don't know everything about the girl, but I do know that she has a lot more to worry about than the insect on a train. She doesn't fit in. She's all dressed up in fancy clothes and has to pretend to be something she's not. She wants to muck around, help build fences. She wants to ride horses the real way, not side saddle like her mother insists. When I come back from my mind movie, Albert has already walked away, but I don't care. I can't help thinking about the girl on the train and how she feels. Like she wants to do so much, but she's held back, and it makes her feel heavy and angry, like she's dragging a concrete block around all the time. And I'd like to help her break free from that. Chapter 13. Troubles with Flowers. It's the night of the holiday concert when we sing about Santa, dreidels, and Kwanzaa. The best part is getting a new dress. I stand in front of a mirror looking at my dress and my first shoes with the heels on them, thinking about the shopping day I had with my mom. We went to A.C. Peterson for lunch, and I like how she stayed with me in the booth instead of having to go wait on other people. I love to sing, but I don't like our music teacher, Mrs. Muldoon. Max calls her Minefield Muldoon because you can never really tell when she's going to blow up over something. Oliver calls her that too, but he acts it out by leaping into the air and yelling, Muldoon! As he lands on the floor and rolls. He doesn't stop though. He goes from a roll right to his feet again, like a cat in a cartoon. Shay is making fun of Albert because of his clothes don't fit. What's with the pants, Albert? She says. Did you get that outfit in 3rd grade? Keisha whips around really fast. Why do you always try to pull people down? She asks. Because some people deserve it. That's why, Shay answers. Deserve to be pulled down? Really? Keisha asks. Albert straightens his tie, which is the only part of his outfit that fits. He's even wearing his sneakers with the backs cut out. You know, he says, logically, if a person wants to pull another down, it would mean that he or she is already below that person. Keisha lets out a laugh so loud that Mrs. Muldoon shoots her a look. Keisha covers her mouth and tries to squelch the sound. That is perfect, Albert. Man, you really are a smart dude. And she turns to Shay. You, on the other hand, are so low you could play tennis with a curb. Shay's eyes narrow, but before she can say anything, Mrs. Muldoon appears and tells us to line up. For the spring concert last year, before I had a growth spurt, I had to stand in the front row. I liked when Travis called me a dime among pennies, but this year I get to stand toward the back of the line with the other taller kids, right next to Keisha. I look over at her. I love how she's stuck up for Albert. She has guts that I didn't in the cafeteria, and I wish I could be braver. We all stand, waiting to file into the auditorium. Oh, Mrs. Muldoon, I love your dress, Shay says. Mrs. Muldoon lights up like a bulb. Why, thank you, Shay. Your parents have raised such a nice young lady. Oh, thank you very much, Mrs. Muldoon, Shay smiles. But when she turns away towards Jessica, she rolls her eyes and keeps glaring at Keisha. I decide I won't think about how mad she makes me, and instead about how the girls get to carry a bouquet of flowers. That's the good news. The bad news is they've been donated by Jessica's father, the florist. It's nice of him, but Jessica hasn't stopped bragging about it. Mrs. Muldoon walks down the line, handing out the most beautiful bouquets I've ever seen, like the ones that brides carry. Dark red ribbons that wind around the stems like a barbershop light pole, ribbons dangling from the bottom too. She hands me a bunch and I smile, thinking of how much my mom will love to see me with them. Keisha leans in to smell them and runs her fingers over the top of the flowers. And then one of the white buds falls off and bounces off the top of her shiny black shoe. Mrs. Muldoon is there in a second. What do you think you're doing? Mrs. Muldoon grabs the flowers from Keisha's hands and she looks up. No, please, I didn't mean it. These flowers are a gift, and if that's how you're going to treat a gift with a complete lack of respect and gratitude, then you, Keisha Almond, will be the only girl without flowers. But Mrs. Muldoon, Keisha says, I really didn't. Mrs. Muldoon holds up her hand like she's stopping traffic. I don't want to hear it. You will have no flowers, and perhaps you will remember in the future how a lady behaves. See, Shay says to Jessica, people do get what they deserve. I stand behind Keisha, but I wish I could see her face. I wait for her to say something back, but Keisha doesn't say anything. Although I can't see her cry, I hear her sniff and see her brush her cheek with her fingertips. And I watch a mind movie of me being the only girl without flowers marching in to see all the parents. and the look on my mom's face, how she'd be the only sad parent in a sea of smiling ones, and how it'd feel like to be less than everyone else. No one should ever feel like that. I feel my fingertips dig into the center of my bouquet to separate the thick stems. It takes some twisting to work about half of the flowers out of the fancy ribbon, but I put some muscle into it. Stems crack, leaves and petals fall, spinning in the air, landing all around my shiny new shoes. Mrs. Muldoon has turned around to stare. Her mouth is wide open, enough for a bird to build a nest in it. I hold her gaze as I hand half of the flowers to Keisha. Well, she can have half of mine then. And in the end, neither of us had flowers, but we walked into the auditorium together. We had bigger smiles than anyone in there. Chapter 14. Boxed in and boxed out. Okay, my Fantasticos. As you know, today is Fantastico Friday, and we are going to end our day with a challenge. I'm going to break you up into groups. Each group will be given a shoebox wrapped in elastic bands, which you will not remove, with a mystery object inside. Your job is to guess what the mystery object is. You can do anything to the box to figure it out except open it. There are 4 numbered boxes that you will rotate from group to group. You have 10 minutes with each box, so be sure to write down your guesses. At the end, we'll open them up to see what is in each box. He claps once loudly. Any questions? Everyone looks excited. Most glance around the room, probably hoping they will be with Albert. He gets the right answer for everything. But I end up in a group with Max, Suki, and Oliver, and Jessica. I briefly consider going to the nurse, especially when I have to stare at Jessica's friendship bracelets. I wonder if each bracelet is from a different friend, and I glance down at my empty wrist. Box number 1 is dropped on our table. Oliver grabs it, shakes it hard. Jessica folds her arms and rolls her eyes, her response to anything that's not done or said by Shay. I look across the room. Shay's in a group with Albert, and she's holding the box and talking. What a surprise. Yeah, Max says, taking the box from Oliver. My turn. And I'm surprised when Suki speaks up first. Oliver, we all need a turn, so we must plan. 10 minutes and 5 of us, that means 2 minutes each. I think about going to the nurse again. I could lie in that comfortable bed and think. I've come up with some of my best sketchbook ideas pretending to be sick down there. Max has been shaking the box. He throws it into the air once and catches it. Whatever's inside is heavy, he says. Oliver says, maybe it's a kangaroo. Jessica looks at him, disgusted. Oliver shrinks. I was just kidding, he mumbles. This makes me mad. Max hands it to Jessica, who gives it a little shake and says, I think it's a wooden block, maybe like one of those alphabet blocks. When will it be my turn? Oliver asks. Suki is taking some kind of notes or something. Looking up at the clock, she says, Oliver, you have 25 seconds of your turn left. Only. Oliver takes the box back, sniffs it, and tries to hear something by pressing his ear to the top. Mr. Daniels calls from the other side of the room. I love that, Oliver. Creative investigation. While I wait for my turn, I wonder why Oliver always smells like graham crackers. Finally, I get the box, and I put it up to my ear and tilt it. Whatever is inside rolls rather than slides. It must be round, and Max is right about it being heavy. I tilt it again with my palm on the side of the box. I think it's a baseball, I say, handing it to Jessica. She does the same test and surprises me by saying, I agree, feels like a baseball. Wait, I said, taking it back. I tilt it again, quickly, and the object hits hard and then lightly. It bounces, I said. Would a baseball bounce? I turned to ask Max. Nah, I don't think so. Maybe it's rubber like a lacrosse ball. After Suki tests the box, she writes down her answer. Then we get the second box. The second item slides rather than rolls. I can tell because it doesn't move if the box is tilted a little, and once tilted more, it will move all at once. All I can feel is it scraping along the bottom. It's weird, but I can almost see it. It's heavier than an alphabet block, but I think it's a shape with all flat sides. Oliver tells me that it's cool that I'm good at this, and I forget to say thank you because I'm in shock. But then I also forget to be nervous, talking to everyone and feeling like I can do this as well as everyone else, and it's like the best feeling ever. Suki hands the box to me. Your turn to go first. The third box is larger, but I guess it's the shape of a magic marker, but much bigger and heavier as it slides one way and rolls the other way. I glance over at Albert, who's listening to Shay talk again. Keisha's doing the talking in her group, but she is making everyone laugh. I wish I knew what they were saying. When Mr. Daniels delivers the fourth box, he says he stays. While Max tries to figure out what's inside, Jessica constantly compliments him on everything short of breathing. Max tells us that he thinks it's something light because it doesn't hit the sides hard. When it is his turn, Oliver looks up at Mr. Daniels. So, what do you think is there, Oliver? I can see Oliver wants to be right. He tilts his head, shakes it, and decides it's a quarter. Mr. Daniels nods and pats him on the back. That's an excellent guess, Oliver. Well done. Am I right? Oliver asks. You have to wait and see, Mr. Daniels shrugs. Can't you just tell me now? Sorry, bud. Oliver seems disappointed. Then he looks up at me, holding out the box, and he says, Here, Ollie, you're the best at this. Jessica's face looks as if she's let out all the pressure. If she let out all the pressure, she'd fly into the air like a rocket to the moon. Allie, Mr. Daniels asks. Huh? Sorry. Sometimes I forget. When I think, I forget to talk. He laughs a little. I hold the box in front of me, with the long side almost touching my stomach. I tilt the box front to back and then side to side. This doesn't make sense. What are you thinking, Allie? He asks. Well, I begin. If I tilt it to front to back, the object hits the long sides of the shoe boxes. And if I tilt it side to side, the object doesn't hit the short sides. In my mind, I see the object must be the size and the shape of a magic wand, because it moves a lot when they tilt it in one direction but not in the other. What? Oliver asks. It doesn't make sense, I say. I look down at the box and shake it to one side hard. I can't get the object to hit that side of the box. The more I shake side to side, the more it hits top to bottom of the box. Confusing. I look up at Mr. Daniels and his half smile and scrunches his eyebrows. Wait a second, I smile. Would you trick us? What do you mean, trick you? I shake it again and I tilt it some more. The object hits some sides but not all sides. Did you tape it or tie it to something? His eyes widen quick and he smiles. And then he laughs. He laughs loud, bending over and resting his hands on his knees, and then he swings his head to the side to look at me. By this time, the whole class is watching him. Wow, Allie Nickerson, that's amazing. I have done this with over 100 kids, and no one, in all of those times, has ever been able to figure it out. He reaches over and takes the box. Taking the elastic bands off, he opens the box to show us what's inside. It's 2 glue sticks tied together with a string, and then the ends of the string are taped to the inside of the box, leaving the glue sticks hanging in the middle. He comes over and does something a teacher has never done to me in my whole life. He high-fives me. Chapter 15. Ungreased Gears. For homework, Mr. Daniel said we have to write a paper describing how we feel about a short story he read today. He says there's no right or wrong answers, he just wants to know our thoughts. Part of my brain knows that this shouldn't be hard for me. I would be able to tell him in a minute or two how I feel about it. But I'll be celebrating another birthday by the time I get it written down. And when I do, he probably won't be able to understand it anyways. Travis comes in the back door and drops his bag and takes off his steel-toed boots. Hey, Squirt. The smell of garage fills the kitchen, but I like it. Hey, I say, trying to get in the thoughts floating around my head to land on the paper. I don't know why things in my brain get lost on the way down to my arm. Travis takes a carton of orange juice out of the fridge and drinks from it. Hello, Travis. Gross. He laughs at me. No one will drink that now, you know. Good, he smiles. My plan is a success. And he walks away, taking the whole carton with him. Travis? He stops in the hallway after taking another swig. Yeah? I know what his answer is going to be, but I'm going to ask anyway. I'm desperate. Can you help me? With that book stuff you're doing? He points, using the carton. Yeah, I have to write something. Whoa, Allie, I can give you new spark plugs, change your oil, even rebuild your carburetor. But the writing? No can do. When it comes to that, my brain is like gears with no grease. Parts grinding together. Seriously, it ain't pretty. Please, you have to be better at it than me. He takes a deep breath. Can't you wait until Mom gets home? She left a message saying that she's closing, and I can't tell her I need help that late or she'll be mad. Look, you know I'd love to help you, but the whole school thing, it's like asking a blind man to drive a bus. Besides, he says, sipping again, I'd rather eat a bag of hair. He tries to make me laugh, and the picture in my head is funny and kind of gross, but I can't laugh. I'm too desperate. I must look sad because his voice is sweet. Seriously, Al, I would help you, but I'm no better at it than you. I'm really not. The next morning, I'm trying to decide if I should turn in my paper, knowing Mr. Daniels will probably think I spit it out in 2 minutes. The truth is, it cost me my whole night and a headache that was so bad it reminded me of the Queen in Alice in Wonderland always yelling, "Off with her head!" just because I thought it might be a relief. I worry that Mr. Daniels will think about it. For now, he's in the hallway with another kid. "Good morning," Keisha says. "I have something for you," and she holds out a cupcake. "Cupcake?" Max says. "Put your eyes back in your head, Max. It's not for you," Keisha says. "Me want cupcake," Oliver says, flailing about a bit. Me love cupcakes." "You're such a freak," Shay says. "That's the Cookie Monster who talks like that." Oliver gets dead serious. Not a single thing on him is moving except his mouth. "If I'm talking like that, then I'm the one talking like that. And besides, do you really think the Cookie Monster would turn down a cupcake? I mean, it isn't broccoli or nuclear sludge or something. You could tell him it's a big, fat, tall cookie with frosting on it, and he'd suck it down like a vacuum cleaner. I bet you he would. You want to bet me? Do you?" Jessica begins to speak, but Shay cuts her off with a look. "No, I won't bet you. I don't bet on anything, ever, and especially not with you." And Shay spins on her foot and leaves. Jessica scurries after her. It takes 3/4 of a second for Oliver to be on to something else. "Wait, that reminds me," he says. "During our class party, I hid a Halloween cookie somewhere in my desk." "The Halloween party?" Keisha asks. "That was weeks ago." "Yeah." He starts digging in for it. Things begin to fall on the floor as he's searching. If it's there, it's probably as hard as concrete. Keisha turns back to me. "What is it with this class? They lose control over food." She shakes her head and pushes the cupcake towards me. "It's for you." "For me?" I ask. Nobody ever brings me anything except for trouble. "Yeah, of course it's for you." "Why?" "Because I'm still cracking up over what you did with those flowers, that's why." She cut the cupcake in half and shows it to me that it says "Wow" inside. I'm happy. Mr. Daniels walks back into the class. "Okay, Fantasticos, good news. All homework assignments have been passed in today, and that's worth 5 extra minutes of snack time." The boys are as excited as if they had heard that there would be free pizza delivered too. I hear Keisha kind of laughing to herself, and I figure it's because the boys are all going nuts. But then she turns to me and says, "You've got guts, Allie, and I respect that." I like that too, but mostly I like that she likes it. "Hey," she says, "do you want to sit together at lunch? I've been sitting with some people, but I don't talk to them and they don't talk to me. And you sit alone, so..." A mind movie shows us sitting in the table talking and me being happy. "Allie, what do you think?" "Oh yeah, that would be great. Thank you." And after the best lunch and recess I've had in a long time, Mr. Daniels waves me up to his desk. He has my homework and my journal. He's trying to look all happy and light, but I can see the serious underneath. "Hey, Allie, I'm glad you turned in your homework, and it's more than you usually write, and that's great." I stay quiet. "I'm just wondering how long it took you to do your homework. I'm not going to ask you to make changes or anything. I'm just wondering." Feels like a trap. I know it isn't good, so I wonder if it would be better to say I did it fast on the bus, or if I should tell him that I worked really hard on it. "Allie?" "It took me kind of a long time, I guess. I mean, I tried to do my best on it, and I look at it. Is it wrong?" "It's got some good ideas, and that's what the assignment's all about. No worries, okay?" "No worries." That's easy for him to say. Okay. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for the next couple chapters.